Hey, it's Neil Mathweg here, the Backseat Driver, episode number 5. Thank you so much for taking the time to stop by. Last week we covered budgeting, the feared word of budgeting, and how we need to have a zero-based budget, and how we can put all of our dollars on paper, spend it all on paper before the month begins. I've met with a couple hundred people now and talked about money. I love helping people with money, with everything that my wife and I have been through. I'm passionate about budgets. I know I'm a nerd, but I love to meet with couples, and I love to help them out. Just about a month ago, I had a scheduled meeting with a couple, and only she showed up. He decided not to come to the meeting, and so this episode is to help with just that. And in this episode, we're going to talk about why it's so important for spouses to come together to talk about budgeting, talk about money, and to do it together. And how to avoid those difficult money fights that we have in our marriage. And so that's what this episode is about. When he didn't show up to the meeting, I knew exactly what their problem was. I knew exactly why they were struggling in their marriage. And, if they're not going to budget together, they're going to always have money fights. They're always going to be pointing fingers at each other. And it's when you have this budget meeting with your spouse on a normal basis, that's when you start to discover some freedom. And that's when the money fights stop. And so before we even started our meeting, I knew what was wrong, and I knew what they needed to do. It wasn't about going into nerd mode and figuring out where their holes in their budget were and where they could spend less. It was just that they weren't communicating, and communication was so important for them in order to move forward. So I knew that was the problem, and I knew that, mainly because of experience with my wife and I. I know when Jenny and I are not communicating, we're not having our normal budget meetings, that's when we start to struggle the most. And so that's when I knew that's what they were struggling with before we even started meeting. So, in a marriage, or in a marriage, there are two types of people. Dave Ramsey calls them the nerd and the free spirit. And we have to figure out how to unite. We have to figure out how the nerd and the free spirit unite. As hard as it is to believe, as free spirit as I am actually the nerd in the family. And my wife Jenny is the free spirit. And so to kind of explain this, the nerd, you can identify yourself as being a nerd by, do you like spreadsheets? Do you like coming up with a budget? Do you always want to save money and you would rather spend less and save more? Do you like this show? If you're a nerd, you probably like listening to this. If you're a free spirit, you've probably already turned me off. So that's a nerd. A free spirit, it just goes with the flow. It's like, whatever money we have in our checking account, that's what we have. If it's out, when it's out, it's out. Just kind of whatever. It's a party. It's a free spirit. Just kind of roll with it. They don't like talking about budgeting. They have a real hard time even coming up with a budget, let alone coming to a budget meeting. And like I said, they probably don't even want to listen to this show. That's the free spirit. So you have to identify. And if you're having a challenge identifying if you're a nerd or free spirit, usually you don't. But if you do, I've got a link below in the YouTube channel here that'll lead you to a portion on my website that will help you figure out if you're a nerd or a free spirit. And and in some marriages you have two nerds, and in some marriages you have two free spirits. And so let me know if that's you, and I'll help you through that, because it's a whole nother show in itself. But if that's you, if you're both a nerd, both a free spirit, let me know. Reach out to me. I'll help you figure out how you should have your budget meetings and get through all of that. So how do we avoid these money fights that I talk about? It's bringing the two together. It's following some certain rules, some standards for your budget meetings, and so you must come together to decide on this zero-based budget, and you got to understand each other's differences. You've got to understand that one is a nerd and one is a free spirit, and you have to be willing to work with that. You have to know each other's values in order to get through budget meetings. And there are some basic rules to follow, and we're going to go over those basic rules. We got to remember that the number one cause of divorce is money. So this is really important for your marriage. Money is talked about more than anything else in the Bible. It's talked about more than heaven and hell combined. So money is very, very important, and it's very important for your marriage. And so you really need to focus on this and come up with a good plan and have it down for your budget meetings. Before I go into that, I want to take a quick commercial break. Believe it or not, we're in episode number 5, and we still don't have somebody to sponsor us. We don't have any commercials yet, but we still have commercial breaks fitted in to our show here. So I can't believe it either. I know, I'm shocked, but maybe someday we'll pick up a sponsor and have an actual commercial. And I figured with this time, since I've got this allowed in my show, I thought I would just tell you about some nonprofits. Every week I'll tell you about a nonprofit that's dear to my heart. And the one that is close to my heart right now is Girls on the Run. My daughter just participated in her first 5K, a program through Girls on the Run. And every week she would go to practice, and then she would practice so that she could run this 5K. And we went to this 5K, and I never really quite understood why everybody was so passionate about runs. We have runs every weekend, it feels like, and I never really quite got it, why everybody was so crazy about a run. I got it now. You could cut the spirit in the air. You could cut it with a knife. Seeing girls that normally are lacking in self-confidence, seeing them cheer for each other, it brought me to tears throughout the entire morning of this day, and I was just blown away. And to me, it just moved me. I not only was so happy for my daughter to complete a 5K race and see everything that she went through, but it also touched me and moved me. And I want to run this race with her next time, because to see what she went through and to see, it's so good. It's so good. And if you have a daughter that's in elementary, I think it's between 3rd and 5th grade. If you have a daughter, I highly, highly recommend getting them in Girls on the Run. She dreaded going every week, and just to see her spirit lift up after every practice, it was just so awesome. So check out Girls on the Run. All right, so let's get back to our show here and talk about the rules that we need for budgeting. This is the nerd rules. We're going to cover the nerd first. You're going to write the budget, okay? The nerd is going to write the budget. They're going to put it all out. They're going to lay it all out, and they are going to present the budget to the free spirit, and then they're going to shut up. Okay, you hear me, nerds? You got to shut up. When you give the budget, you've set it. That's it, okay? It's over. You hand it over and you shut up. This is a meeting. This is not a weekend summit, all right? This is not gonna last all weekend. We're not gonna go into nerd mode for a whole weekend. It's a meeting. It's gonna hand over the budget and kind of let it go. And you have a 17-minute window with the free spirit before you lose them. If you're lucky, some free spirits you'll lose them in 2 minutes, but really it's about 17 minutes you have with a free spirit. And you have to this is probably the most important one, you have to let the free spirit change your budget. Oh, I know. Don't change the budget, but you have to let them change the budget. You've got to get their input, all right? So that's the nerd rules. Here's the free spirit rules. First, free spirit, you have to come to the meeting. It's crucial. We need you there, all right? You've got to show up to the meeting. And you actually have to talk in the meeting, all right? So we need your input. If you have to give your input, and you have to work with the nerd here. So if you want more money for clothes, you have to realize that something else has to go in order for there to be more money for clothes. Okay, so you have to, if you increase one line, you have to decrease another line. Okay, so you have to work with the nerd here. You can't just say I want, and not understand that we have to take something away in order to get that. All right, and you can never ever say this. All right, you can never say whatever you want, honey. Okay, don't say that. That's a cop out. You need to work with the nerd here, and you have to work with a nerd. All right. So again, below is a video that you can watch on my website that will tell you more about nerds and free spirits. So be sure to check that out. So after you get through with your first budget meeting, you may start to discover who's the nerd and the free spirit, and you're going to continue to work on that. Like I said, I'm the nerd in our marriage, and I don't think right away I felt like I was the nerd, even though I was doing the budgeting and doing the things that nerds do. But I thought it would be cooler to be a free spirit. I didn't want to be coined a nerd. But later on, I realized that, definitely I am the nerd in our family. So, and then there's the challenge of working together once you discover if you're the nerd or the free spirit, and learning each other's values. You need to know what's important to each other. And there's some things that my wife wants that I'm just like, what? We don't need that at all, but we do it because it's important to Jenny. And so it brings value to our marriage because I understand what she needs and she understands what I need, and we work really well together through all of this. So the big lesson here that I really want to pound home is you win by giving up. Okay, you win in your marriage by not always feeling like you need to win every battle. So remember that, and go into the budget meeting. Say a prayer before the budget meeting that you're going to listen, and that you're going to be gentle in it, because this budget meeting, once this is set and you guys agree on a budget, there's no more budget fights. There's no more money fights during the week. There's no more, you spent what? You did what? That's all gone because you're both going to stick to the budget. You both agreed on the budget. There's no more, you can't buy that coffee. Yeah, I can. It's in the budget. It eliminates the money fights. Okay. So I could go on and on and on about budgeting. All right. But I want to continue this conversation off video here and continue it with you in Facebook, Google Plus, Twitter, wherever it may be. Let's continue this talk with your spouse. Watch this video. Let me know if you have some questions. This whole budget meeting thing is like I said, I could just go on and on and on about it. So to just keep this video short, I'm going to end it now. And like I said, be sure to reach out to me if you have any questions or if you need help with your first budget meeting. I'd be happy to meet with you and happy to guide you through this process. Thanks again, everybody, for watching The Backseat Driver. And remember, I'm only the backseat driver. I don't have all of the answers. Thanks again for watching. I hope that everybody has a great day. And remember to be the reason somebody smiles today.